Anyway, lovely to finally meet up in a sort of slightly virtual situation so far. But anyway, yeah, big fan of your wonderful music. I think it's absolutely fantastic. As soon as I heard,
Oh, very.
I don't know if I mentioned it on the show, but that first track of yours I heard, I just felt from like the first sort of millisecond, if you like, oh, that note, the sound of that note, this instrument used, this song is going to be amazing, and I was right. So yes, it was.
Oh, thank you so much. I really wonder what song that was.
I can't remember now. Was it Awakening? It might have been. I think it might have been Awakening or something.
That's the name
That,
of my EP.
yeah, I can't.
So if you went there, it may have just been the first song.
More than likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
But
so much. That's very sweet.
I just thought, yes, this is going to be absolutely wonderful. Anyway, yes, you are Brenvela. You are a St. Louis based artist, and you've actually come through quite a lot of other bands beforehand, I'm told.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your musical history then.
Okay. So I started when I was about 22. I met someone who had acoustic guitar, and this was about the time of the mid 90s, mid to late 90s, when trip hop was becoming a thing, like Portishead, Tricky, Massive Attack, those kind of Bristol based bands. And I was very much into that sound. And through that, I met then a whole other scene of people that were into more of an industrial metal style music and joined a band with them. That band was called Murder Happens. And we did pretty well around St. Louis. By pretty well, I mean, there were often a lot of people at our shows. And what I noticed was the goth scene, the goth people were pouring in, and they were so sweet and so kind, and just really made me feel at home
Yeah,
everywhere that we would play, because they would consistently show up.
yeah,
And then after that, I've always had an affinity for a lot of different types of music. My roots are really like The Cure and Depeche Mode, and even like Tori Amos, things like that. So, those in the mid 90s to late 90s, I really got into the kind of darker culture of, and I don't even think it's dark. I think what it really was is just these really authentic musicians that where their lyrics were very moving, and the sounds, the textures, and the dark, just very moody, dark sounds and textures of these bands really drew me in.
yeah.
So then, over time here, then I'm playing in more like electronic bands, and then my Vela Uniform project was that it began, to where that was more of like an acoustic electronic thing, but with those dark, brooding vocals. And then that band is what brought me into that metal industrial band, Murder Happens. And then, I was still doing my own thing on the side. Like my solo stuff has always been more electronic based and or like dark wave and trip hop combined.
And
So,
your
yeah,
latest stuff as Bren Velic, I'd almost at times
yeah,
sort of verge on pop, I would say. But I
yeah.
certainly vocally, it's got a sort of quite sort of a pop tone to the vocal. What is there anything in particular you think that sort of influenced you in that way? Did you even maybe kind of throw in that sort of vocal with the Murder Happens project at all, or was there a different vocal style with that?
Yeah, the one thing that is true about me is I feel like my vocal style, regardless of what genre or band I've ever been in, has stayed the same. So I feel like I've stayed very true to myself the whole time. that I've been making music regardless of what genre I'm in.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. Some of my music now, like, I don't want to, I'm not trying to put anybody down and be like, oh, you're basic. But, if a normal person asked me, and they do all the time, what genre is my music? The easiest go to right now for me to tell them is alternative pop because they're not going to understand goth. They're not going to even know what trip hop or dark wave is. So the most surface level thing that I can explain to them that my music is it's alternative with pop elements. And those influences definitely came from growing up listening to the radio and music just constantly, like my whole life. So um, like even this is gonna be embarrassing, but even like Debbie Gibson when I was like
Look,
a
you'll
child.
not get any shame for listening to the most outrageous pop here. I mean, hell, I just did a cover of Yes Sir I Can Boogie, which is, I don't know if you know of it, being an American, you're probably not so familiar with sort of
Right.
around 1979, 1980
Yeah.
camp Euro pop tracks. I love the most ridiculous pop music ever. There's nothing wrong with it. Love it. Everything is
I do
valid, and I
too.
just want to bring everything together myself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
and
love that. I feel like I have so many different elements of styles that come into my music. The downside of that sometimes is that I don't feel like it may not just connect with a lot of people, but I know that there is a niche audience for what I'm doing. And as you probably know, being an artist and trying to promote yourself and do things online, it's really all about just trying to find and reach those people that
yeah.
will get it and that go, oh, okay, I can
All
connect with
about just trying
this.
to
Yeah, it can be so very, very difficult when you don't necessarily exactly fit in with something. I sort of did a song a bit about that. Oh, everything's about you, is it, Derek? All right. Yes, I do. Yeah, I'm just trying to say that I know where you're coming from in that it can be a little bit tricky to know about where you belong if you don't precisely fit into a genre. But I mean, I think that's something that I sort of loved instantly about what I heard from you. It didn't necessarily precisely fit in anything, and it was just wonderful.
That's very true about me. And thank you for that. But yeah, I just don't quite fit anywhere on my own, especially. I started my Brenvela project as solo about almost 2 years ago. After being in bands with other people, and when you're doing that, maybe somebody else is making the core of the music, and that's always been the case for me with my longtime bandmate and friend Greg. We've been in three different bands together, but the Vela Uniform stuff that you have heard and played, like he wrote that music, and then I would write the lyrics. But it was a beautiful, like wonderful musical relationship because he would just come to my house like every Sunday, and we would sit there and he would play things, and I would I'm not trying to take credit for like the sounds and everything, but there were a lot of times where it was just like he'd play that certain thing, and we'd start sorting through sounds for that melody, and I would hear one and be like, "That's the one,"
Yeah.
and it would
So in
often
effect, you were
land
kind of
in a
acting a little
darker
bit as producer in a way. You're saying, like, yeah,
kind of
that
in
works.
just a little bit in that way. Like Greg's very highly talented and skilled as a musician, but I definitely with our most recent Bailey Uniform project, it was really me and Greg just sitting there and going through things, and I would hear a certain sound, like these big brassy, like boom, like booming sounds that I'd be like, that's really cool. That's really a little bit different and interesting, but also very dark. And like we just have always made kind of dark sounding music together.
Yeah.
And now the reason that I went like very solo is really it was because of COVID. We were in, we were playing shows as Vela Uniform and writing new songs, and COVID happened, and then everybody just kind of isolated and went different ways. And I got to a point also as, mostly in my life, I've been like just a singer, but I've
Yeah.
always been able to produce music. And anything that ever stopped me from that was a lack of availability of instruments or computer issues or reasons I couldn't record. But about 2 years ago, almost, I got an MPC, which is a really wonderful music creation tool. Some people, it's very popular in like hip hop,
Yeah.
but you can do so much more with it. You attach like a keyboard to it, and then my MPC is right behind it, and it's more like a groove box drum
Yeah. Yeah.
machine.
And I
But
have an
you can
MPC 2000 which doesn't
do
work.
you,
So I just use the laptop for everything. The
yeah,
laptop can do it as well, but an MPC is
sure.
probably a little bit more reliable and robust.
I love what I love about the MPC is that I feel like I'm playing an instrument, and then attaching a keyboard to it, I am playing an instrument.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about that for me, after being in bands with people for, my entire adult life and early like adolescence, is that with that MPC, I do not need another human being to make music. I can do everything by myself. I don't have to wait on anyone. I don't have to worry about if they're having issues or things going on that, I
Yeah.
can just bang out songs every day if I want to. And that's been life changing for me. That's been
Yeah.
a really good thing.
So with Vela Uniform, is that considered still an active project, or is that sort of totally dead now? I know you said you were possibly doing some Vela Uniform tracks, but it on the 10th. But I just wondered if you
Mhm.
considered it still an active project generally, but you're doing Brenvela as well.
So I think the deal with that is that our last incarnation of Bailey Uniform, we had a live drummer, Paul Wood, awesome drummer, and we had another singer, we had a guitar player, and we had me and Greg. But from the ground up, it was just me and Greg writing those songs and then playing them for everybody else, and then they just learned their parts or what to do with them. So as a project, Vela Uniform, yeah, it's pretty much dead because now I've moved on to just Brenvela. But because we wrote a few songs towards the end of the 2019, right before COVID hit, we did not get to play these songs out live. And even as Brenvela, I will have Greg with me as a back, like he's back right behind me, running sound, making sure everything goes okay, and playing along with things because admittedly, I'm not the for this show that I was booked for, I was admittedly not ready to play an entire set
Right.
of my songs by myself. Um, because, with there's some intricacies of technology and
Yeah.
the songs that I recorded for that EP. I lost almost all of what I did on an SD card that failed.
Ouch. I know that sort of
And
feeling.
so, yeah, so some things had to be recreated and redone. And also, it's just, I feel way more comfortable having Greg there running the music through his keyboard and laptop while I sing
Yeah.
because when I'm singing, I'm so focused on that. Like
Yeah.
I've never been the kind of person, as much as I want to be, that has been able to sing really, to the best of my ability and play at the same time.
I mean, generally speaking, myself, I just don't bother playing anything and just prance about like an idiot most of the time. But So about the, we won't keep you much longer, but about the Awakening EP, as I believe it is, isn't it, EP? And also
Yeah,
apologies for constantly calling it Brenvela as opposed to Brenvela. Um, anyway, but
it's Brenvela. Those are it's both are right. It's very similar.
yes, I mean obviously not knowing, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Yes, about the Awakening. So, what's gone into those particular tracks, and what were you aiming for anything in particular with them, or did they just happen that way? And what are they about? If you want indeed to tell us that.
It's a little bit of a mashup. So Awakening was a really special thing for me because it was the first time that I was able to release something that only I did. You know, that there was no other musicians working on except for one track. There's called The Myth, and my friend and engineer Justin Fisher, I invited him to sing on that, and he played some music on that. So that track aside, Awakening was the first time after all of these years playing music in bands and playing out where I did it all by myself. So that was important because I just didn't need anybody else. And with COVID separating everybody from each other and me still having this such a strong desire to write and create music, I had to find a way to just do it all alone. I wasn't comfortable just working in a DAW on a laptop. It's there's nothing I have against that, and it's actually a really great skill that
Yeah,
is separate from what I'm skilled at.
yeah,
And I just wanted to be able to play music that was important to me. There's one track on there that's just kind of more fun,
hmm,
and I was just like playing. It's called Charm Me, and it's just like a fun, like tongue in cheek, almost. I don't know. It's almost danceable, but the other stuff is actually quite personal and dealing with a lot of loss and death. I lost some people in my life that were very important. And, one song, yeah, I had to pull from, someone else's life, basically someone disrespected a friend like very close to me. And so I pull from that these lyrics where I'm like really angry about the fact that you did this to my friend. So here's a song about that. Um, and then, just like feeling a different song. I'm going through different songs. I'm not naming which ones they are just for personal reasons, but,
yeah.
you
That's
know,
fine.
revisiting like really serious feelings of love and like the depth of love that I have for people. And it's I hate when people are just like, I'm an empath
Yeah,
and
oh God, I
I
hate
feel
that.
other people's feelings so much. Like that's not
99% of everyone who posts on Facebook saying that they're an empath are definitely not. Anyway,
exactly.
we don't want
Yeah,
to
exactly.
we don't want to keep you
So
much longer, so we probably should sort of wrap things up about now, as we don't
yeah,
want to.
yeah.
But I just again want to say that I think your music is absolutely exceptional. Everyone should rush out and purchase it at their
Thank you
next
so much.
available and listen to it on Spotify and all that sort of thing. So, and I really can't wait to enjoy you live performance in St. Louis on the 10th of May.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're
I'm
ever in
very
the
much
UK,
looking forward to that.
if you're ever in the
Looking forward
UK
to
as
playing
well,
with you.
yes. Well, I hope you don't regret that afterwards. Anyway.
Not at all.
All right. Anyway, it's been
See you on
absolutely
May 10th.
yes. I will see you there. It's going to be very exciting. My third gig in the US, all the way over
Oh,
from
that's
the UK
great.
to cause trouble in another country. Anyway, yes, I very, very much look forward to it, and it's going to be a memorable night. And it's also to celebrate the birthday, which is a week before, actually, the birthday of my girlfriend, Gwendolyn Gilbert.
Yes. Love Gwen. I'm
Yes.
excited for that.
Right, anyway, so I will let you get off and get on with the rest of your Sunday, whatever you may have to do. But absolutely lovely to connect with you, and can't wait to play with you on the 10th of May.
You too. Thank you, Derek.
All right, see you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. As the power grows higher, wide and mean, these snakes grow slyer. They can't resist, taking all they can. They can kill their fellow ones home. They suckle on the sanctuary of his fear and his moans. Barefoot walking the bare cold floor, treading a flood of her own blood. Old men giving